Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GothamChess Slow Run. In case you need a reminder, or you are new here, in this series, I started at 400 elo on chess.com playing rapid games, and I'm moving up the rating ladder on an authorized account. When the slow run is over, everybody that I played and hopefully defeated will be receiving all of their rating points back. Now, in this video, we are crossing into 1100. We are now solid intermediate players. We have followed good opening principles. We are getting into the next level of the game. And when I say next level, before I get into the games today, I want to tell you about my next book. Some of you may know. I wrote How to Win at Chess for Beginners and Beyond. Also, I'm putting out Chess for Babies, which comes out at the time of recording this in just a couple of weeks. Chess for Babies. Very, very nice illustrated book for the young ones. But what you may not know, and what I have not talked about really in depth yet, and I will give you a sneak preview of today, is this. How to Win at Chess Next Level will come out later in 2026, a book to get you from roughly 1,000 to 1,700. And one more thing I will be doing today that I have not done yet, and now you will get a little reward for watching this video, is I will show you the table of contents. How do you educate somebody who is an intermediate player that wants to become an early advanced player? Approach 2,000. Well, in the book, I will be doing it like this. How to make a plan. I will show you how to use pawns more effectively. I will show you how to use your pieces more effectively. Tactical play, attacking. Then you go up there, defending, converting winning positions, practical intermediate endgames. And then the final chapter of the book will be exercises and analyzing positions from games that you have actually all submitted. Unfortunately, you still have a little bit of time to wait for this book. Books take a long time to edit. They take a long time to print and ship and everything like that. But at the end of this year, I'm super excited to put out this book. Why am I talking about it? Well, I just said next level. That book is called Next Level. Let's begin taking the slow run to the next level. Let's begin learning how to use pawns more effectively, knights, bishops, attacking, defending, converting winning positions, and how to make a plan. Opening principles and so on will only get us so far. And I am super pumped to get into the games today and show all of you how to achieve 12, 13, 14, 1500, and so on and so forth. So for this first game, I will play the move d4. And let me unmute so we have all the clicking sounds. So d4, c6. A little bit of a weird move. Could be the opponent is maybe trying to go for a Caro Kann. I will play a Queen's Gambit, and I will also bring the clocks back because I just realized there are no clocks anywhere. Wonderful. So let's get these clocks back on the board. And there we go. Time is running. So we have a Queen's Gambit. In the Queen's Gambit, we want to develop both of our knights, dark squared bishop, light squared bishop, etc. This pawn is capturable. We know that from different Queen's Gambit positions. But we also know that if that pawn is captured, we can get the entirety of the center and then try to win it back. Now, as you are approaching 1100, 12, 1300, you'll see what type of player your opponent is very, very quickly. Do they play really fast? Do they play really recklessly? Do they follow the principles in the opening? Do they not follow the principles? And you will have to adapt as you go. Now, it's harder to scan all of that and adapt to it as you play in a blitz game. In a rapid game, you have a little bit more time. Now, you definitely should not be spending 40 seconds on the third move. Maybe my opponent is on a train and the train just went through a tunnel. Maybe my opponent clicked on my profile and is now bewildered that they are playing me. And that does happen. That does sometimes happen in the slow run. But I have never had somebody just not make a move for 9 minutes, so that would be really it wouldn't be instructive. That would be really entertaining if that were to happen today. Obviously here, black can develop with a knight move. Black can move this light squared bishop out. A move you don't really want to play here is knight to d7, because you would just be blocking your bishop. Now my next moves are knight c3, moving the dark squared bishop, pawn to e3. I am running out of things to say. This is exceptionally uninteresting. This was not supposed to be how this went. We might have to make an edit here. I've never had to make an edit in the slow run before, but I don't intend... I don't know what to do. Do I just keep telling you about the book? Anyway, all right, let's just keep telling you about the book. So, yeah, the book... Outstanding. This is going to be a completely chaotic episode. This has not happened yet. A person just left their device. They're not disconnecting. Should I refresh? Like, is something happening here? What is going on? Have they made a move? It's still their move. I thought maybe I'm lagging. No. I kind of want to message my opponent. I don't know what's going on. Okay. I don't know if I can be funny for 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Honestly, that would be really hilarious. Like, it would be a total waste of your time, but if I was really funny and you laughed this entire time, it could be worth it. Anyway, very difficult to shorten a guide for intermediate players without talking about openings at all. Because you all play different openings, right? Everybody thinks that an opening is just a solution to gain a bunch of rating points. It can be true if you play a Vienna or something really aggressive. In How to Win at Chess Next Level, I took the approach I took in the first book. There's no coordinates, so the book can be read with nothing. You could just lay in bed and read the book, and everything is right after one after the other. Then there's bonus material as well on my educational platform. So if you learn about attacking, you will then practice attacking in the extra bonus material that will be online. I think it's a really nice guide. I think this guide really teaches you how to think in chess. Pawns, knights, bishops, rooks, queens. It also teaches you attacking and defending. It teaches you how the opponent is trying to think as well. So I'm really proud of How to Win at Chess Next Level. And of course, Chess for Babies is just beautiful, but it's also a baby book, and it's $8 or $9. It's a very pretty illustrated book, but it definitely, it's not going to help you get to 1200. But it's very cute. I'll even leak a page. There you go. This is the rook. Look at that. Very pretty. You could learn it too if you're an adult. All right, I don't know what's going on. My opponent made a move. What? My opponent made a move. What was this? Did he have a 3-minute and 50-second meeting? Well, look, if you have such a huge time advantage, I mean, in a 10-minute game, you gotta, you gotta make use of it, okay? So the bishop went out. I would like to move my bishop here or here. Both are okay. Just keep in mind that if you develop the bishop to this square with an attack on the queen, there's a very high chance that the opponent just offers you a trade, and then you just have to decide, like, is that something you want to participate in? Knight to f6 is fine. The queen could also come out as a result of you moving here. That is also possible. All these things are reasonable. My next few moves are going to be e3 and bishop d3. You might be wondering why I didn't play e3 first. Well, I would have blocked in my bishop. So that's why I moved my dark squared bishop. Well, this could be a colossal waste of time of a game, but I mean, it wouldn't be a slow run episode if there wasn't some memes and some drama. I can't believe I just rambled that entire time thinking I would have to make an edit later, and then a move was made. This is really weird. I don't know what's happening. Okay, this is not a bad move, but it's weird. It's a weird move. We got to implement a new thing in the slow run called a weird move rule. This is not a move that we have normally seen, and it's blocking the bishop and the queen. We don't have to take anything. You will notice that we have both kept our pawns kind of like this because I want to be taken so I could get the center, and they want to be taken because they would just, take back and bring their knight. So now I'm going to go e3. You'll notice I'm not taking the knight. If my opponent goes here, it's actually completely reasonable for me to just keep the bishop on the board. If my opponent does a pawn rush, this is overextension and could cause the king to be weak. I actually think this will happen. I think we are still at the level that people at around 1100 just sort of absent-mindedly throw the pawns forward. Although, okay, that knight move is obviously not that. Now, trading the bishops here is okay, and also keeping it on. Like, I like trading it because this is in the book. This isn't how to use your pieces. When you are trading one of your opponent's more active pieces, hey, look at that. It happened. When you are trading one of your opponent's more active pieces, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. This is a very advanced bishop. If it takes, I will take, and then I can choose which way to castle. Now, this is too much. This is just an overextension. An alarm bell should go off in your head as an early intermediate player, like, that's weird. Now, if I allow that to be good, it's going to be good, but it's weird. Here, you should move your knight somewhere safe. Possibilities include knight to h4, hitting the bishop, knight to e5, trading and maybe going to attack the rook. You kind of don't want to go backwards, and if you go backwards this way, you would lose your bishop. One way to overcomplicate matters here is to take the bishop first and being like, well, I don't have to move my knight. Look, there is nothing wrong with the move knight e5. You can play it relatively quickly. If knight takes, you take with the bishop, your rook is hanging, they have to move the rook, and remember, that means if they move the rook, they can't castle. So it can't be a very bad decision. Now, knight to h4 would have also been reasonable. It wouldn't have been as strong, for a more advanced reason. The reason being, you go to h4 with your knight, and in your head you go, I'm going to take the bishop. But if they take you, then, well, the knight's, right? The knight's, now it's useless. It went there to take the bishop, but the bishop got traded immediately. Knight to h4 and only thinking for yourself, like, I'm going to take the bishop, is 1000 level thinking. I'm trying to get you to a higher level of thinking. So black is obviously going to play rook here. Rook h7 would be kind of ridiculous because you would just be stuck behind the pawn. Oh, okay, well, they could also take our bishop, and now, normally, you would just autopilot taking the rook, but with a bishop this deep in your territory, you kind of want to pause and be like, is there any danger? I'm going to be very honest with you. This is just a free rook. This will be a free pawn, so black will at least get a pawn for the trouble here, but I can very quickly win the pawn back. Queen takes is just a free pawn. It's important to look at free pieces, right? So this is just a free pawn. Now we have a rook for a bishop, but it's not the end of the story. Why is it not the end of the story? In chess, material is the most important thing and king safety. And I cannot castle anymore. So my opponent has stopped me from castling short side, which is bad. But I can castle long, and that's very important. Now, I can castle long immediately. The first thing I need to ask myself is, what does knight f5 do? Nothing. Just kind of activates the knight. So now I can probably castle because I haven't done that yet. That would be a reasonable move. But it would be risky. And I'm actually very interested to see if my opponent can come up with a strong attack against me. I'm going to castle. Now, this position is extremely dangerous for white, actually. And we will learn, because black can generate an attack extremely fast against my king. And before you know it, I'm going to have to be really careful not to just, like, lose, by the way. But let's see. So let's see. Bishop b4 and queen a5. Okay, queen a5 is played. Does that move have a threat? The answer is yes. Bishop takes a2. Now, the thing about bishop takes a2 is it's not like the scariest threat in the world. Like bishop takes a2, okay. Now we can also defend this with king b1, right? If we play king b1, black is probably going to, in fact, play this move bishop to b4, and it can get very scary for us. Our queen is sort of offside as well. So we have to be very, very careful with how we defend ourselves here. Let me just make sure this move king b1 doesn't like lose the game on the spot. Let's go king b1, and now let's see if my opponent follows up with bishop to b4. This is actually, like I said, this is an extremely dangerous position. b5 is bad. b5 is too slow. I kind of get it, though. You're trying to play b4. Actually, the more that I look at it, it doesn't even look that bad. it might not be bad at all. Okay. I'm gonna have to, I kind of like deliberately got myself into a bit of a dicey position here, but I got myself into too dicey of a position. So I know that the move a3 looks like it stops b4, but it definitely doesn't. So if a3, my opponent can actually sacrifice, I'm thinking. If b4, I have to move, and then my opponent will play queen takes a2. So it's a very tough position for me. I'm trying to think how to, like, not get mated immediately. I might have to make a run with my king, which I really don't want to do. That is, wow. Okay, in trying to be educational, I have stumbled into an extremely dangerous position by accident. Okay, when in doubt, one of the things you can do is you can strike back at your opponent. So e4 would be something that I would, consider. So e4 takes, get my knight in the game. We also don't want to tank all of our time. I really would like to play b3, but then I would be hanging my knight. Goodness, what? This is actually... This is crazy. Like, this is actually like a really, really bad position for white. I mean, I have to do something. I really don't like what I've done here. I was like, okay. Let's go. I don't even know. Let's go a3. Yeah, b4 is still going to happen. We're going to take. And now I'm going to see if maybe I can pick up the rook. So maybe queen to g8. So my opponent could go back and stop that, but that would kind of be going in the wrong direction for them. Interesting. They're just sacrificing the rook in the corner. So let me take this. And so something crazy can happen here. They could take my knight. I could give them a check. And they could come here and accidentally get mated with my bishop in the corner. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it could. They don't do that. So maybe I can take this with a check. Alternatively, I can take like this, and also I can make a run for it, maybe. Something like king c2 here. So if I play king c2 here, because if I take, there is check, king c1, and something like a bishop to b3. I'm like basically mated. So maybe king c2 is the surviving mechanism. If they give me a check, I can take the bishop with the king, which is crazy. Wow. I'm like, this is the worst position I've had. And it was like completely by accident, but it's this is the danger of the slow run. The danger of the slow run. And my rook can also come help. We'll see what my opponent can come up with here. But this is, yeah, this is incredible. I'm enjoying myself coming up with this defense. Had I just taken the bishop, queen a2 was coming. And queen a2 was coming anyway. So what I did is I just basically made a run for it. I could have given more checks, but I kind of liked having my queen defend these squares. If my queen had ventured off too far, but like it's very normal and natural to play something like queen c8 or queen c6 and just keep giving checks. Had my opponent run the king there, that they would have been mated. So, and now black is deep in thought here. I don't think that there's a way to finish the game. I think you might just have to leave with the bishop, and then I would immediately get my rook into the game. So I would search for counterplay. You know, I'd get my rook in the game, and I would try to send it to an endgame. I might actually have survived, to be honest. But that did not look... That was scary. I mean, I knew it was going to be dangerous. I did not know it was going to be that dangerous. We will analyze. I think for sure it's probably like -3, -4. Like it must have been nearly losing for white. But okay, now my opponent is just going to go below a minute, and I don't... Yeah, but can't I just play king takes now? b3, so if here... This looks like I will survive, unless there is something like this, but that just shouldn't... Okay, but now I bring my queen back. Don't go b4. If b4, continuity, you take your eye off of this. Also, I can run my piece back, but okay, queen b4, and I think there is no more drama here. My king cannot be checked anymore. Crazy game, crazy game. Okay, and now this is easy. This is easy. We got the endgame now. Bring the rook to the party. Try to win this pawn. Just make sure no more checks. You should not be getting checked by these pieces. That's kind of an interesting move. Okay, let's go b3. Attack the bishop. This is not a check. This doesn't work. Bishop will come here or there. We can just try to kick the bishop out of the position. Also, 20 seconds, like here, you just got to step on the gas. I mean, honestly, I don't even really care like what you do here. Just don't blunder anything. Try to coordinate your rooks together to win some pawns. Look at the level that my opponent showed, by the way. Just excellent level. 1090 rated player, but yeah, 10 seconds is just not enough. Unfortunately, we have too big of a material advantage. Very weird game. Extremely weird game. Most games of the slow run do not take this long. They do not involve our opponent just like stalling out the clock for most of the game. That was crazy. So let's talk about opening principles. Here from the opening, we had an advantage. Our opponent did not play particularly principled chess, and we know that. Now, we initiated this trade, and I told you how going here in the short term makes sense, but look at the evaluation. It would drop down to, you know, like you just left the knight there. Now the knight is not particularly strong. Check out the way black played, by the way. They played like a triangle defense. Triangle defense with black, very effective against queen's pawn. Against the queen's pawn. Very effective opening. We did a good job, I have to say. Bishop takes. But what's funny about this position, what's funny here, wow. The best move for black is to take? The best move for black here was to take this, according to the computer. Now, okay, this was the best move, but black went here. Now, knight f5 was normal, castles, and yeah, this was extremely dangerous. How about black here? Bishop b4, all of this. I mean, I thought for sure bishop b4 here must be just like winning. I thought black is just taking the knight and then trying, or doing something like this. Actually, it turned out b5 was the best move, which is what my opponent played. And then after a3, all of this made sense. Takes. I went check. And wow, black should have went back, just been patient and kept attacking. Instead, they went here. And this position is... I notice it's very important, by the way, here, folks. I improved my position. I gave a check, and I protected squares. Had I just gone takes, I would have probably lost. Okay, maybe not lost, but it would have been extremely... I mean, this just looks like it's made in a move. The only reason this is not made is you have checks. You have to understand timeliness in this position, right? Like, when you are attacking somebody and you have a king completely surrounded like this, the only way you can survive is to give checks. And so I gave this check... And then here I can win with even bishop f6, apparently, threatening my own checkmate. I went king c2, and probably that's also good. Yeah. Had I taken, there would have been queen a2, and this is extremely dangerous. This just looks like I'm going to lose. You have to settle for a draw by perpetual check. And it's instructive that my opponent here... in this position, did not blunder checkmate with the bishop from the corner. That would have been cool. Folks, that was a crazy game. That just shows you, like, to get to 1100, things are not so simple. You know, black played a very reasonable opening, played in a kind of a strange way, played relatively, you know, good moves. And then, yeah, didn't let me castle. And look, like... just the king not being able to castle is such a problem. It shows you that even rooks are not maybe even the best move. The best move here was to take back the bishop, according to the engine. That's what it's showing, which is mind-blowing. It's very instructive. I talk about that in the second book, relative value, which is the value of the pieces as the game is going on, not as the game is... not in terms of general wisdom. Like here, this bishop is not a 3-point bishop. This is easily a 4-point piece, you know, not allowing me to castle. And my bishop... and that rook was not a 5-point rook. Like, even though I'm up a point, it does not feel that way. So, definitely instructive. And I took on h8 fully aware, and I kind of went for this position fully aware of its dangers to be instructive, but I did not realize how bad this was. This looked really scary, you know? And it's very important I was timely with my counterplay. Had I tried to play passively, I would have just lost. I mean, I would have just got a totally lost position here. And that was also an exercise in defense. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. And with that in mind, we will play another game. This time I will play a London system. Why not? I'm also working on a spreadsheet where I show all of the openings of the slow run. So you will have access to that very soon. And you will have access to every game that I play. Here we will play a London. London is characterized by the pyramid setup. Now, this is a terrible move, but it's a little tricky. Basically, the idea for black is to either strike with e5 or g5, but this can't be a good move, you know? And so just be patient. Black is going to do something like this, probably. Always be on the lookout for some sort of queen h5 check business. Not right now, because black will just protect themselves. Now, the thing about the London is you can play the London like a London. You can play it like, you know, you bring out your bishop to this square, and you offer a trade, and then you develop knight here and c3, or you can always switch it back to a queen's gambit. So the nice thing about this opening is, you know, you can play it like a London, or at some point you can play c4, and it kind of becomes a queen's gambit. Now, my opponent's playing, again, very decent, I have to say, opening here by by black. Now, a lot of us would just autopilot here. They would autopilot this. This is going to be a video of getting myself into some scary positions. This is going to allow a massive pawn attack. So now that we've castled on opposite sides, the way that you play here with white is you try to pawn storm the other side, and black is going to try to pawn storm as well. So you have to be ready for this. One way to not attack at all, if you're a player who's afraid of attacking, is to trade some pieces. Trade the bishop, trade the queen, etc. Now, if you do want to attack somebody, well, let's have a little bit of fun, right? Let's try to play c4. There's this move h5, very tricky move. g5 is incoming, so g5 and then g5 followed by h4 is incoming. In general, even though you have castled in this direction, I would actually say it's a good idea to prevent the attack. So to prevent something like, I would even stop the pawn storm before it can get there, because if you play h4, there will not be a g5. g5 immediately was probably the right move by black, but this move threatens g5, h4, and it would have been okay to play h3 or h4. A pawn standing in front of a king that's castled that can be targeted is called a hook. That's also in the second book. So this pawn could have potentially been a hook. This is also a bit of a hook. The difference with this is that, okay, we trade a piece. The difference with this is that we would simply be winning a pawn. So my opponent makes a couple of trades. Now we have the early signs of a counterattack by me. And we see the opposite side castling in effect. This is extremely high-level chess. 3-4 years ago, people at 11, 1200 sucked. They were so bad. So like we kind of can finish our development, or we can maybe bring a rook. Let's bring our knight, and then let's bring the rook. I think black is going to trade the bishop because we just traded the bishop. Okay, a6 is weird. That's a weird move. I'm going to go here, and I'm going here because we see long-term, I'm going to have a rook and a queen just pointed directly at my opponent's king. It has to make sense here. And we have stopped their pawn storm. And if they have, no pawn storm to hit us with, they're not going to attack us at all. Especially because you need pieces. You either attack somebody's king with pieces or pawns. If you can't attack with pawns, you have to attack with pieces. There are no pieces here. So clearly, we have neutered the black attack before anything could happen. And we ourselves are going to, play a3, b4, b5. I would love to, actually, maybe we can just go b4. But obviously, they would just take it. We might jump in our knight to c5. But I really like this kind of idea of a pawn attack. Now, bishop e7 looks weird. I think the idea could be to prepare this, but, b4 is certainly possible. You need to prepare attacks generally. So I will play a3. I will play this move because I want to go b4, b5. And if we get b4, b5, we're going to get our knight there and our queen there. They do play this, but we're just taking here. This is a miscount by my opponent. Now, do you want to take with the knight or the bishop? I don't know. Both are okay. Maybe we take with the knight so that the bishop stays pointed this way. So let's do this. Now, of course, if they take, yeah, but see now, okay. But after all of that, we are still up the pawn, and, we wanted to break into the position. I still want to go b4, but the circumstances have changed a little bit. This move, I keep talking about it, continuity. How does a move impact control of the board and other pieces? They no longer defend the center. And so this move would be nice, but this move might be even better. This move might be even better. We might get even faster into the position like this. And that would be great, for us. There is one counter there, which I've noticed, which is if they go rook e5. Let's see if my opponent is going to spot this very obscure fork. It's very rare you get a fork kind of like directly in the center of the board like this. It is the best move. Now, we have played some strong people today. It could happen. I might have to counter that by going like knight f6, for example, jumping in with my knight, attacking the queen. It's a very, very sharp position that we are finding ourselves in. Okay, knight e5, but knight e5 attacks my queen but makes a huge mistake. First of all, some of you here might be tempted to just grab on c7. It's a good move. Because your queen, you would think my queen's hanging and this, but the slow run is designed to educate you beyond that. This is not the only check that you have, and it's because this knight moved, and it's continuity once again. Because you have a pin on the king now, b6 is available. This is a fork now. Previously, it wasn't because you would be taken, but not only is this a fork, The only move that black has is this. And then you take the queen with check. And your queen cannot be taken. A lot of you would have just taken on c7. Free pawn, take with the rook, and you're winning. This is even better. It's actually not even better. It's significantly better. And so black made a continuity mistake. Black attacked the queen, but didn't realize they would be pinning themselves on the c-file. You have to be minimum 1300 to... Okay, they just resigned, and that's very nice. Now, I'm just going to show you. This is a very instructive moment. A lot of you watch these videos, and then you might watch and go, oh, I can play like that. Not always true. Not always true. So if knight e5 happens, the logical thought process of my queen is hanging, but I can take this pawn, is what like 1,000 and below should see in 5 to 10 seconds. In 5 to 10 seconds, you should see my queen is hanging, but I can take this pawn with check. Because my knight and my rook both defend. Now, if you're about 1200, you might just play that move, but with 7 minutes on the clock, and with all these pieces pointing in this direction, spawning knight to b6 as a possibility at around 1100 should start to happen fast, very fast. If I let a 1000 rated player in this position think for a minute, they would spot this because they would go, oh, they can't take my knight. What you then have to spot is that this is the only legal move, and some of you would miscalculate, oh, I take the queen and they take my queen, that's bad. No, 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 no. Knight here, here, this is check. And to calculate all of that relatively quickly, you have to be around 1300. Quickly! I know you guys are gonna watch and go, I'm 900 and I saw that. No, you saw it because I'm recording a video and you're watching. Playing a game is very different. It's very different. Now, the best move in the position was probably, without a doubt, rook to e5. I do think, yes. And the computer confirms it now that I have it on. Rook e5. Now, rook e5, I have several choices. But like I said, knight to f6 is the best one. Knight hangs, bishop hangs. You can also go bishop f6. But knight to f6 is nice because it attacks the queen in this. And then if they take, they get forked. So actually, the best move here for black is probably to move the queen somewhere. Like, let's say to f5. And now the best move for me would be to take the knight, and if they go here, you have to spot this fork. In the middle of all of this chaos, you actually just have a pawn fork, and that would be winning you some material. Now, why did all of this happen? Actually, from the opening, black had a really nice position. If you want a nice anti-London weapon, you're learning now, if you want a nice anti-London weapon, castle queenside, and start a kingside pawn attack on them if they castle. For me, I should not castle. So if you are a London player and your opponent is preparing a kingside pawn attack, don't castle. Switch this way. So the best move here for white would have been, for example, well, there's actually, technically there's this. You can win a pawn. That's a very weird tactic, but let's just say, you know, let's just say that black played something like e6. So now the best way to play here could be c4. Something like this, you know, taking knight c3 and delaying castling as long as possible, leaving the king in the middle. The second that you castle, black will begin g5 and begin h5, and this is where things get very dicey. Now, black could have done that in the game as well. Black could have went g5 and then h5, and here I cannot stress this enough. If you are going to play a move with the h-pawn, it should not be h3, it should be h4, because this way you counter, and after this, black's pawn structure is stuck. They cannot make any more progress. If you play h3, you look at the position. You're immediately much worse. Immediately much worse. In the game, black went h5 and I went h4. The best move was to take on d5 and kind of ignore, but I just wanted to show you, like, we want to shut down all of this, and the position could have been one that looks like this, and here h5. Again, the better choice is generally to strike back in the center, but if you would like to defend against the pawn attack, don't go h3. h3 allows way too many problems. After g5 and something like this, there is h4, there is g4, they hit this, now they get in, and now you are almost losing. So you want to prevent the attack, and that is why h4 is such a useful move. You'll notice we built up our attack a lot faster than black did. You know, here I played this move a3, and then here we won a pawn. But even if we didn't win a pawn, we were going to go b4. And I hope it's quite clear this is how you attack on opposite side castling situations. This is in the book. It's in the attacking chapter. I can't wait for the next book. Everything in these videos now is in the book. Piece trading, continuity, opposite side castling, playing against strange openings, you know, and following the principles. Let's get one more game because we've played too few games today. Now we will get a game with black. Let's go Karo Khan. We'll keep playing Scandinavians. We'll play some Okay. We know that this just doesn't work. If you are a Karo Khan or a French player, this bishop move just isn't good. They lose time. And now we will develop the knight. We will develop this knight, light squared bishop. Folks, I cannot believe this is an 1100 rated player playing like this. Just playing directly into our development. This is no good. And you will get players like this. We know the last player didn't play very principled, but played intelligent. This is not intelligent. Now, you can take the whole center. You can also make a developing move. I like, in general, this is not hanging, by the way, I like to just take the whole center. Like, if white plays unprincipled and gives us 2 pawns in the middle, of course, take the pawns. Now we can develop our bishop. We can develop this bishop. You can also attack the queen, but the queen will just slide over, and then, you know, you might just not be able to do anything after that. If you want to move your bishop, you should move it actively, because that way it keeps this pawn protected. And just castle. Now we are, of course, looking at ways to trap the queen, but I don't see them. This attacks our center. This attacks the center, so defend the center. But look at this position. I mean, this is not how chess should be played. What does this do? Is there a threat? No. We can just castle. Another thing you can do here is play a6. Like, sometimes if a knight jumps in, you can always ask it what it's doing. But to be honest, if it's not doing anything, leave it. It's just not on a good square. It's way better over here. Just castle. Every move we're doing is improving the position. Now if white castles, they lose. They actually lose the game. The knight needed to be on that square, and I will show you why. Okay, they're very close to losing this game, actually. Like, because of this move, bishop g4. Bishop g4 would attack this knight and leave... oh, they are losing, actually. You know why? Because I just realized we have checks, captures, attacks. And we win. We have a check in this position as a result of this move. See, I was looking at all this stuff, and then I was like, wait a minute, checks, captures, attacks. This is a check. And it threatens the knight and the king. And when they block, we just attack it. And they lose. Even I needed to remind myself, checks, captures, attacks. Of course, we had a million different moves, but the checklist worked. Because we will be winning material as a result of this move. And a result of them putting the king in the center. And now we just go d4. Also, knight d4 could be a thing. Takes, knight takes. But I think this is just clean. Continuity, the bishops will see each other, but it's fine. d4, we just win. We just win. I mean, we're just winning a piece at a minimum. Knight is hanging, and it's pinned. Now, white here should do something aggressive. They should probably just counterattack and try to take the knight. But this knight is just, I mean, it's not going anywhere. Even if white goes here, we can just move the knight. We can move the knight here, or even defend it, because this is just pinned. This is just a straight up classic absolute pin. The knight is not going to be able to move, and we're going to take it, and we're going to be up material. So we thwarted a queen and bishop nonsense attack. Now, we can take this first, by the way. So we whichever you want, like, we can take. If they take with the bishop, they're going to lose their other knight. The knight that they put there, they actually, oh my goodness, the knight they put there, they lose 2 knights instead of 1. They just lost 2 knights for 1 pawn, and now aggressively they're, you know, people are like, oh, I lost 2 things, I got to take something back. Now it's just over. They just lose. They just lost 2 pieces. This is 1100. So it shows you that, you know, okay, what is this attacking, right? This is a threat. Checks, captures, threats. Actually, I think bishop f2, sacrificing a bishop, is the best move. We can check after the game according to the computer. Why? We have such an overwhelming material advantage that I actually think sacking a piece and getting the king out into our attack is the best. But, like, look, I mean, there's this. Just protect it. Protect it with a rook that hasn't moved yet. This is principal chess. And the next thing we will do is we will defend with the bishop. But let's see if my instinct as a master level player is correct, that this is the best move. Okay, don't hang your queen. Now we target this. Simple. White is still not castling, which is absurd. Okay, thank you. Now trade the bishop. Not complicated. Trade the pieces. Without pieces, white can't do anything to you. Trade the bishop, trade the knight, trade the queen. White should move here. White shouldn't trade, of course. Or play a5. Yeah, a5. Okay, we go queen here. Safe moves. We'll jump in with the knight. And we can win this position by going for a checkmate. Or we can just... Oh, no. Continuity. Continuity. First of all, I can take this. Second of all, you used to protect your bishop. Now you just lose the bishop. This shows you that even at 1100, if you are just a little sharp with your puzzles and your tactics, sky is the limit. The first game we played today was at an uber high level. Like, and that player was lower than this player, and this player's down 3 pieces in 18 moves. And that, you know, okay, now I'm really, you know, and by the way, we can sack the queen for 2 rooks. That's kind of a fun little simplification. Of course, look, like, just take everything for free. Take this, fork, you know, go here. But this is not, you know, this is just lost. And it's totally lost. I mean, there's not any way to defend here. I predict rook c1. If we take, we could get pinned and countered. That could happen. I'm actually going to test my opponent's tactical vision to see if that's a thing. Maybe they will see that. So rook c1, knight takes pawn, attacks the rook, but you get countered. And we cannot take this because the queen is protecting. This queen stares at this pawn and this pawn and this pawn, but it's not a big factor in the position. This knight I would love to move so that my bishop and the rooks team up on that pawn. That would be nice. Yeah, this is not the time to go into a deep thought, I have to tell you. Like, people confuse me. I don't know why they spend all the time after the mistakes have been made. You have to play you have to play chess when you think before you make mistakes, not after. But that's, you know, oh my goodness. They stopped guarding the rook. Oh, goodness me. This was a bad game by white, unfortunately. And it could be because, you know, white saw they were playing me. It could happen. I don't know. And also, you know, people are rating because they have bad games. So let's go back. If you play with black and you do not play e4, e5, if you play literally any opening against the king's pawn that is not e4, e5, the bishop and the queen attack do not work. If you are a player with white that likes to play the bishop and the queen thing, stop playing it when they just block your attack. Like, this won't work. You have to stop doing this. Obviously, white does this because they win a lot of games like this. But you're just worse after 5 moves. And I took the center, you know, and then I moved my bishop. The best move, according to the engine, is to play e4, but, like, just develop. Castle. Don't hang the pawn, please. You have to see what, you know, the pieces that are colliding here. e4 is winning, apparently. It's just, oh, e4 is winning because the queen is trapped. Wow, this is incredible. Now the queen is trapped. Because when the queen moves to g3 to target this, I play knight h5. And look what happens when you play chess poorly. Like when you play poor principles, the queen doesn't have a single move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All 14 squares the queen can move to, it's under attack. That's disgusting. I didn't do that. I just played principal chess. I mean, knight b5 is... Here with white, you can play d3 and castle and move your bishop. This is this is just, you can't do this if you want to get to 1200. And so here again, I was thinking if castle, I would win with bishop g4 and the knight would have no defender. But then my opponent went d3 and I was like, wait a minute, checks captures attacks. Checks captures attacks. This bishop would have just been blocked, but the queen check, yeah. And by the way, knight d4 was the best move. Knight d4 attacks the queen and this knight. And if they take, then I would have had the same position. But, okay, I went like this. And then here was the best move, bishop takes f2. No! As a matter of fact, I played the best move, which is just developing a piece. I thought bishop f2 would have been cool. Oh, it is a cool move. So the point is, then you give a double check. Oh, it very well could be the best move, by the way. And then you take, and then the king is in the middle, and then you play queen b2, and you just, you know, you go for checkmate, or you play like... something, queen c5, and you go for a queen f2 and queen c3, and even though they can take with check, I hope we are on the same page. Like, this can't work. This just can't work. You're going to eat the pawns, and this is just going to be totally crushing. So that was pretty instructive. Maybe we'll do a 1 hour episode. Why not? Why not? One more game. We have black. That wasn't a great game. One more episode. E4. Now let's go E5. Now, are we going to get some Queen H5 stupidity? Wow, are we actually going to get scholars mated? No chance. Not at all. This is crazy. We are still getting scholars mated at 11:30. This is insane. Insane that this is still happening. Unbelievable that this is still happening. I am beside myself that this is how people are playing chess. Okay, develop all your pieces in castle. Now, the best way to play here with white is you might as well commit to the attack, because otherwise, like, what is this queen doing? Okay, I get it. Bishop g5 and so on. Fine. We're going to castle, and then we're going to deal with the consequences after. The way that my opponent is actually playing this is fine. This is not completely stupid. Now, we could have played h6 to prevent, and we also could have played a little bit more aggressively. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play h6, and then we are going to see if we're going to have this trade of queens. With no queens, we're not going to get mated, right? So my opponent obviously, okay, this is our position. So now we will play an 1100 rated endgame, an endgame. So what does white have that we don't have? White has a better pawn structure. We have damaged pawns. We have the bishop pair. Okay. Now we would like to undouble our pawns, so I'm going to play d6. Then I'm going to play f5. That's a weird move. That doesn't stop my plan at all. Is this hanging? No. f5. I want to undouble my pawns because these pawns are going to be stuck. Okay, trading a bishop for a knight for no reason is just a bad move. And now I'm going to punish this poor decision-making by my opponent and show them the power of the bishops. They do not have respect for the long-range pieces, and they are opening the position with the king still in the middle of the board. King is right there. You know, I'm gonna chop this, and then I'm gonna go here. That's what we're gonna do. They don't have respect. We can give a check. We can, but then they block. So a lot of you would just give this check. I'm gonna teach you how to think a little differently. I want to target this pawn. Target this pawn. Pawn's hanging. If the knight, right? Okay. Now, how about the move bishop to d3? So bishop d3 or rook e8. Both are pretty reasonable moves. Let's go bishop d3. Now maybe white will play rook e1. Now at a minimum, we can play takes and takes. That's a good move. That's a good move. Rook e8. Maybe rook e1 is going to be played. Okay, white's not blundering anything, which is annoying. It's annoying for me. So now I'm thinking, okay, if I take, they're going to end up taking with the knight. Now if they take, and they take with the rook, I take the pawn. If they take, maybe I can double up my rooks. I can also double up my rooks now, like rook e7, rook e8, with a lot of pressure. All of that looks reasonable. Let's do that. Let's play rook e7. Now the best move is to move the knight out of the way and hit the bishop. But what about the knight? Continuity. You forgot the knight's job was to protect the... I mean, we were just going to have such a rich position. Okay, I can take, but also good to simplify. Check, and then I take with my pawn. This is like I'm in pain. If any of you have goals to be an 1100 rated player, this is it right here. Now, in the second book, we have a chapter on endgames. In endgames, and rook endgames are by far the most common. King activity is important. Rook infiltrating is important. So this is going to be something that we need to look out for. And then obviously picking up pawns and putting a rook behind a pawn to advance. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to go in and try to win a couple pawns with our rook. We don't need to move the bishop. All of these pawns are on dark squares. This is probably the best move for white, just purely practically speaking. Okay, we pick up a pawn. Now, we would love to trade the rooks as well, by the way. If we got the rook off the board, we simply have a bishop, and they don't, and we win because we have a bishop, and they don't. And so, look, this move not only threatens to win the rest of the pawns, I'm also just straight up threatening to trade the rooks. That's a nice move. That's a nice move. Now go here. Never trade. Please don't trade. Please don't trade. I mean, you gotta feel like, all right, good. Finally that move has happened. Now we will take. They will take. And now I can move my bishop, defending the pawn. I can push the pawn. I can do both things. And now this is our position. This is easily winning for black. You should be able to win this with black, even if Magnus Carlsen was playing with the white pieces. Even if Magnus Carlsen was using Stockfish against you. Why? This is an unbelievably simple position to win. You move the bishop, and you push the pawns. That's all you do. You move the bishop back. White will probably hang this rook, or not. And then you just go here. You just push the pawns. The only thing you need to be careful about in this position with black is to push the pawns in a way that they can continue to move. If you push this pawn and lose this pawn, that's bad. If you push this pawn and lose this pawn, that's bad. So keep the pawns protected. Keep the pawns protected. I have to give credit to my opponent, who is actually playing this in quite a good way. I can't move my pawn so easily. So I mean, so what do? I mean, like, you look at the position, you go bishop d5, then I hang this pawn. Bishop d7, then rook here. So let's see if my opponent is clever enough to return to that position. Right? So are they going to go here? Are they just going to keep the position exactly as it is? Good. Now I need to get my king involved. It's quite clear this is frozen. This is not going anywhere. So let's walk the king over to help and kick the rook away. Notice I'm not rushing. Everything in the endgame, like, you don't need to rush. They might check me. I might kick the rook away. This is protected. They're going to try to promote a pawn over here because that's literally the only thing that white can do. Now I made it. Hey, is this a free pawn? Yes. Never too late to take more pawns in the endgame. I would love also, the rook should be behind the pawns. The rook should be behind the pawns. Okay, maybe we just go up. Keep everything protected. We don't want a rook somewhere that it's so closely protected we can't move anything. It was there to protect the pawn. Now we can move it somewhere away, like here. And another thing you will notice, a lot of you newbies do this. You just give checks in endgames. You give checks, check. No. We don't need to give checks unless there is a clear reason. There's no need to give a check. The rook needs to be repositioned to its best position, or it should go hunt pawns. And having said all of that, I'm about to give this check. My opponent's going to go here and get checkmated. No, they actually go back. Now, this wins a pawn on f3, or we can push the pawns, right? Up to you, push the pawns. Push the pawn. Push the pawn. Push the pawn. Escort with the king. Escort like with the pawn. I don't really care. Push the pawn. Rook c4. Push this pawn. This is how you win endgames. I can even give away my bishop. If I push, they go king d2. So look, if you push, king d2. Oops. Don't defend laterally if you don't have to. You can use your bishop. The rook should be escorting the pawn or coming here. That way you can promote. And now you go to the first rank. The best move is rook c3. But first rank, try to queen. Very instructive. If we queen, they just take, so you have a little deflection check. Kick the king away, queen. Very important the bishop is protected. But even if you made it to an endgame like this, as long as you have, even without the bishop, this is easily winning. You want me to show you? Give away the bishop. You don't even need the bishop. They're not even taking the bishop. Incredible. Take the bishop. Okay, fantastic. King and pawn endgames are pretty simple. If you have more pawns, and if you have a more active king, more pawns, of course, more important, you just win. You win. This position would be winning for black if this pawn was gone, because I would just walk up to the pawns. I have a much more active king. Much more active king. So that would just be winning, right? I would just take on f4, and now you will actually eat all the pawns here. If you have a one-on-one position, of course, that's much harder, but I don't have a one-on-one position. I have a position with 3 extra pawns. If you do not win this, that would be a miracle. We are not going to touch the h-pawn. We are just going to run the f-pawn forward. And in this case, it's just the king is just, behind us. But the king also cannot defend against one pawn from the side. So, of course, I can just win. But let's say I don't. I go here. If I only had these 2 pieces, this is winning for black all the time. The king needs to be in front and only in front to defend. and they cannot be on the side. Because if I push and the king goes here, I defend. The king just cannot get close. Again, it's going to be an instructive moment in a second. The king is going to go here. I'm going to push. He's going to try to get there. It's not going to work because I'm right here. I am exactly like this. So side defense, even with one pawn, never works. I can go here. Doesn't really matter. F2, king G2, and obviously I have another pawn, but... And now, just for fun, I will also show you, because this is the last... Oh, no. I was going to show you how to mate with king and rook, but we will have to do that another time. I'll show you two very effective and fast techniques to mate with king and rook. I am extremely disappointed that 2 games to end this video, we still got this early queen business, but now you know how to play against it. Look. Principled, good play. If you want and you have an aggressive opponent, trade the queens. Now here, I would like to tell you how to play a position of bishops versus knights. White does have some advantage here. White has an advantage because my pawn structure is compromised. It's not very good. When you have knights, you need to establish outposts. Hey, using your knights is in the second book. That's why I showed it at the beginning of the video. Outposts. Squares in the opponent's position from where a knight cannot be easily removed by trade or attack, like d5 or b5. b5 is different because a6, but that would be really nice, which is why the best move in the position is knight bc3. Because then you prepare knight to d5 with a fork. You also prepare moves like f4 in the future to maybe get control of the f file and plant this knight on f5 or on h5. Knights have to be planted. Voluntarily moving a piece you've already moved and then trading it. Look at this position. It goes from 0.4. When white makes the bishop for knight trade, it's minus 0.9. How instructive is that? 1.3 points according to the computer swung because my opponent traded a bishop for a knight. And then in this position, it's already -1. And after takes bishop back, it's around minus 0.7. Actually, it was even better for me to retreat my bishop. And then, you know, white did a good job here of getting to this point, but it's still, you know, minus like this. And I went here. And now I said, you know, the best move for white was to alleviate the pressure, get out of the way. And they didn't do that. And they just hung a piece. Continuity. I've been saying it throughout this video. How one move affects the rest of the board. How one move affects your pieces and the opponent's pieces. An extremely important skill that you have to develop as a 1,000, 1,100 rated player. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you're a baby, you know where to find Chess for Babies. Comes out March 3rd. Comes out in like 12 days, 13 days. The original How to Win a Chess. And I can't wait to show you how to win a chess next level. October 2026. That's all. Get out of here.